Press and enter and done. All the social media set up and software testing is complete. Electronic payment system's ready. It's all working, Julian. Where to go, buddy?
Fucking way, Buzz. You know what? You are the fucking man, buddy.
Oh, I know I'm the fucking man. I mean, I honestly don't think there's a snowball's chance of fucking hell this business is gonna work, but I did my best. Here we go.
It happened and how high.
We talk about how high right now on Gather Scatter Live. Hello everybody out there joining us in the shaman's interconnecting their brains all across planet Earth, becoming one, only one. Man, I sure do hate Discord and everything about Streamlabs also. Hey, yeah, anyway, we are here to be inebriated, to talk bullshit about the spirit, about the aliens, about the drugs, all the things that you want to hear about. We do have a very decorated guest with us. We got Little Pop-Tart. What's up, Little Pop-Tart?
Oh, thank you, sir. How are you doing, buddy?
I'm fantastic. I didn't realize that you had 10K followers on Instagram. We got a celebrity, boys.
Well,
make way.
You know, I'll be honest, bro. About half of them are not real. I bought followers.
No, you're on the internet. None of them are real. We're all just talking to ourselves.
None of those are real people, bro.
I'm a computer person.
I'm a computer.
My followers are super inactive, bro. I post all the time, and you know, I'm saying I only get a few likes half the time. But you know, half the time I get a lot. I get thousands of views or hundreds of likes. It just depends on what I'm posting and what pops and what doesn't. You know what I'm saying? But I just post so much on so many different social medias. You know what I'm saying? I don't care about likes. I'm just trying. If I can get something to get a lot because it gets attention.
Oh yeah.
And I am trying to make a career off social media.
Oh yeah.
And off clothing. So. I do.
I hear that.
I don't. And you know what I'm saying? If it doesn't pop, it's not a disappointment because I don't expect it. But if a tweet or post or something does go viral, then it's like, great, cool. But you don't necessarily always get to capitalize and make money off of a viral tweet or a viral fucking post, or at least I don't.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you this. The place to do it is TikTok and YouTube. YouTube Shorts and TikTok are the way to make money right now, to market right now. I started a YouTube channel from nothing with 0 subscribers and started putting shorts on it, and once in a while one would just hit like 2,000 views. And suddenly you got 40 subs with one video. And keep that up. That's what a lot of people don't realize. Everyone's like, well, this will be the next hot thing. I'm going to make this thing that's going to change everything. And they're all going to subscribe to me. It's never like that. It's never like that. No. But there's like a serious amount of momentum that can be built right now using these short videos. And it's such a sad state of affairs to like rely on the short attention spans of the sheep. Be like, that's the only way. But that's where we're at now. I don't know what to say. It sucks.
You know, I actually have, you know, I think of myself at least to be a good designer. Not great or not professional. But I know that I have good ideas. You know, I had Kanye West ask me what ideas I have, not necessarily for fashion, but, you know, just in general, he said, what ideas do you have? So I know that throughout the years, I've always had great ideas, and that's what I excel at. So yeah. I've made clothes for years and years, and that's what I want to stick at doing, and I just want to get better at it. So I am trying to, like, use YouTube and stuff, whatever, to market myself and to market my clothes. You know, but the thing is, with my marketing, with my YouTube, it's all real, and with my stories of contact and stuff, all my contact is real, and it's all connected. I'm making clothes which are alien and UFO and Elvis themed clothes, because my real niche or niche is Elvis's.
What's the name of your brand?
UFOs. Well, my name is Lil Pop-Tart. My brand is pretty much Lil Pop-Tart, but what I'm making my new clothing line is, I think, just the word human. And I got some pretty good designs that, you know, I got right now. But what is really, what I believe to be my greatest discovery yet, I discovered tonight. Whenever you guys have a couple minutes, probably, you know, like 4 or 5 minutes, I wanted to read this passage to you, but...
Let's kick it off.
Yeah, let's go.
All right, well, 1 second. So I would just give you a little bit of context. So I told you how I'm a big fan of Elvis, and I'm a big fan of UFOs. And
same.
You know, people like to rope them in together, but the thing is that Elvis actually did have several UFO sightings and believed that they were extraterrestrial. So I've been kind of out to prove that these past, you know, however long, year or so. And today go ahead.
No, I was going to say my grandfather actually met Elvis when they were in the Korean War.
He
And my uncle
killed
was
Koreans with
my uncle was
Elvis.
in the army.
Awesome.
I don't think Elvis actually went to Korea, but they
Okay.
met at the fucking base in America.
Okay.
That's
Yeah,
based.
my
That's
uncle
based
was
at the
in
base.
basic training with him as well, somewhere in either Arkansas or Texas. He was in both.
Yeah, it was Texas.
But
Yeah.
my uncle was there too with him, and my aunt went there and took pictures of him playing guitar and stuff, brought him back to where I live now, and hung him up at her cabin at church camp. And there's the staff at church camp took him down and burned him because he was, such a bad influence or whatever. But so a few days ago, I became a super Elvis fan after the Elvis movie last year.
I haven't seen it. Should I see it? Should I?
Pretty good. It's not bad.
Oh,
It's not
absolutely.
bad for a
Pretty
modern
good.
movie. Yeah. Pretty good.
Of course, coming from me, I'm gonna, recommend it 100%.
Well, I don't know. I can imagine you coming later on being like, "That's all bullshit." Like I could see it.
Well,
That's how it is when you
I-
deep dive any of these things.
Yeah, no, I am aware of the inaccuracies in it, but that's Hollywood, and the same creative Hollywood freedoms were taking place with Elvis in his movies, and except this is actually a great movie, and I think the best movie of all time. The difference with Elvis is he was such a phenomenal actor, such a phenomenal talent, but he was put in these crappy movies because of his manager, and that's what the movie highlights a lot. But anyways, back to what I was saying, the real story of what happened, a year before he died, he fired 3 of his bodyguards, 2 of them which were his almost lifelong best friends, Red and Sonny West, who Red West was working for him and was best friends with him since high school, Hume's high school, whenever he started. He's like a sophomore or whatever in high school. So, anyways, these guys were with him for a long time, and they got fired because they were trying to get Elvis to get off the drugs and stuff, and he was actually doing cocaine also, and they were really concerned about that. And anyways, so they got fired and ended up writing a tell-all exposing book about Elvis, and this really upset him. Just the fact that it was like a betrayal, like with Judas betraying Jesus, it was a betrayal, and that's what upset him. Is like, how could they do this, blah blah, and he became obsessed with this book, right? And he became even more depressed because of this book a whole year before he died. The book ended up being released 2 weeks before his death. I think August 1st, 1977. He was dead August 16th, which is actually the date of my kid's birthday. Anyways, so I actually didn't read this book this entire time because I was like, like Elvis wouldn't want me to read it. Like, it's obviously it puts him in a bad light, even though I do like a couple of the bodyguards. I don't have your vape. Anyways, so I found out that there was a passage from this book called Elvis What Happened that talked about Elvis's UFO and UFO connection, and in that it says Elvis firmly believes there's life on other planets. He believes there are flying saucers and that visitors from other planets often come down to Earth. When he started talking like that, David Hebler says, who was the other bodyguard, he never got much of an argument from me. I mean, it's pretty arrogant of us here on Earth, a tiny little planet in this giant universe, think we are the only ones here. So I would listen pretty closely to his ideas, and they often went along with mine. And then that goes on to describe, it says, Sonny West remembers a time in 1966 when Presley believed there was a visit from outer space. It is still a bit of a mystery to me. We were back in his mansion in Peruga Way, Bel Air. We were in the back of the place, and suddenly Elvis says to me, do you see that? I looked up and I could see this light coming through the trees, which is exactly what happens like during CE5 in a lot of Dr. Greer's movies. Elvis was getting very excited and said, it's a flying saucer. I didn't take much notice. I thought it was the light of a plane or a reflection from a plane, and I just waited until I heard the sound of the motor. Well, I didn't hear any sound. The light kept coming, and it went through the trees and sort of over the top of the house. The light disappeared, and it seemed to have dropped in the front of the house, and we were in the back. Elvis tells me to go in the back of the house and get Jerry Shilley. I rush in, grab Jerry, and we go outside looking for the light. When we got outside, we couldn't find Elvis. We're hollering and yelling, and we run in front of the house, and we still can't find him. Finally, I hear him yell, I'm down here. We run about 2 or 3 houses down, and he's in the driveway of one of the houses. He's looking forward toward Westwood. I say to him, Jesus, that light thing scared the hell out of me. I thought they had got you. When I said that, I was only half joking because I believed I had seen some kind of flying saucer or a phenomenon of some which I can't explain. Anyway, he just kind of grinned and he said, they will come, but they won't hurt us. If they make contact, we can't be afraid because they are not going to hurt us. He was convinced there was a flying saucer with people on board, and I don't know what I believe, but I do know I saw something I can't explain, and I agree with Dave. I can't believe this Earth is the only planet with life on board. So that was what... That's what I found 5 days ago.
That's very, very cool.
That is. I wish they would have got into more detail about the shape, though.
So this is what I discovered tonight, though. There was another book that came out a year later after Elvis died by a different bodyguard who wasn't fired, named Ed Parker. And this book was, was released to shed a, more positive light on Elvis from a different bodyguard's perspective. And Ed Parker was a karate instructor from Hawaii who had his own karate studio. He met Bruce Lee and stuff. And Elvis met him in 61 or something a long time ago, and ended up working with him in the 70s and hired him to be his bodyguard in the 70s also. And he stayed with him. He ended up being his top bodyguard till he died. So I found out about his book today, and I had found that it apparently talked about aliens, UFOs too, so I went and bought the book on my Kindle, on my iPad, and I found that, and it is the most detailed one that I found so far, if you guys want me to read it.
Yeah, please.
Alright, so
Yeah.
I'll start where it goes into the UFOs, so you don't have to read the... Alright, so each area of discussion would soon lead to other topics such as who were the probable occupants of UFOs, unidentified flying objects. We both expressed belief that UFO sightings were genuine. It was not until I mentioned personally witnessing a flying saucer that he revealed his experience in observing one. At first, I hesitated to discuss my sighting even with this close friend, but the depth of the discussion had given me confidence in Elvis's ability to distinguish truth from fiction. I knew that he would not ridicule me for what I was about to reveal to him. I was in Hawaii in September of 1974, and then blah, blah, blah. He says he was weighed down by short-term business problems and needed to get away. Went to the beach in Hawaii, and he says, a star, somewhat brighter than the rest, appeared to be moving more rapidly than the background stars. As I watched this progress, I realized that it could neither be a planet nor a satellite. Its movement was too swift for a planet and too erratic for a satellite. I stared in fascination as this light began to make irregular right-angle moves totally unlike any aircraft or nightlight I have ever seen in the skies. The colors changed periodically through the wide ranges of blues and greens. It was circular in shape. The outline was distinct. The object would go through its sudden movements in one position in the sky, then dart to another position above my head. There it would again go through the unusual movement. More suddenly than it had appeared, it streaked across the sky and disappeared.
You're breaking out a little bit. It streaked across the sky. What was that? You're breaking up a little. Streaked across the sky.
It streaked across the sky and disappeared. Traveled at speeds I have not witnessed before or since. In a matter of seconds, it had crossed my line of vision opposite horizon and was gone. And this is Ed Parker, the karate instructor, telling Elvis about his UFO sighting.
Mm-hmm.
I watched Elvis as I related this experience to him, some indication of his feelings. All I saw was a deep, self-satisfied smirk. I felt for him that he had thought that his close friend had gone off deep end. He set my mind at ease by revealing that he and his father had witnessed a similar occurrence. Now that Elvis is gone, I feel I can share this confidence with you as he would if he had the opportunity to get to know you personally. One evening, Elvis and his father had gone into the backyard at their home in Graceland. To their amazement, they saw in the sky above their property a circular craft glowing in the evening sky. It hovered for some time above their property and began to do the same type of erratic movements that I had described earlier from my own experience. Elvis estimated that they watched this craft for approximately minutes.
You're cutting out. You're cutting in and out while you're going through this. How many minutes?
It's 5 minutes.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, it's roboting a little, cutting in and out. It sounds like you moved to a part of the house with worse reception, is what it strikes me as. I don't know, but
Yeah, I don't know. I'm still
okay.
the one with the
Wi-Fi.
Their amazement, they saw from my own experience for 5 minutes. It made sharp right-angle turns, changed position in the sky, hovered, then would make similar turns in the opposite direction. Then, as it had in mind, the craft suddenly disappeared from view.
Disappeared from what?
Moment, then looked me straight in the... I don't know why it's cutting out so bad. Here, let me get off the Wi-Fi. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear
Yeah,
you.
it's a little better, yeah.
Thus far.
Okay. What was the last thing? Elvis hesitated for a moment, then looked me straight in the eye and told me something he considered very intimate and sacred in his life. My father, Elvis began, was so moved by the sighting of that craft that he shared with me an occurrence that happened at my birth. As Elvis spoke, I could tell by the quiet, strained tones of his voice that this was very difficult for him to express. Yet he felt it was so important that he had to share it with someone he knew and trusted. I had a stillborn twin brother, Elvis confided, and at the time of our birth, my father said that there was a canopy of light over the house. Its aura lighted his way to the well outside the home in Tupelo. My father was amazed, Elvis continued. He wondered in his mind what manner of occurrence this was. What was its significance? What did it mean? He had never spoken of it until that night we saw the unidentified flying object together. The light of that object reminded him of this occurrence at my birth. Ed, I still don't know what this means, but I'm convinced that there must be some significance to it. Was my brother, who was stillborn, such a special person that this light was for him? What does it mean? He hesitated for a second and then asked me in most searching terms, could it have been for me? Then I told him, yes, most definitely. With all of the influence he had on people, with his gospel songs, he was doing missionary work without realizing it, and must have been a special person to have come into this world in that manner. It must have meant for him. It must have been meant for him. He was stunned by my reply, and it humbled him. He sat and pondered for a few minutes. Then I gave him some additional insight into some of the possibilities that would account for the presence of these objects in our skies. I told him about the book The Hollow Earth, which I had and later loaned to him. When I told him of the theories contained by that book, he was eager to possess it. He could hardly wait for me to get my copy to him. He wanted to read it that very night. Don't misunderstand. Elvis was not one to grasp at unproven theories. He did not accept myths or fairy tales as reality, but his mind was such that he wanted to instantly inquire into the feasibility of any untried or unknown theory, to taste it and test it for himself. And he was never satisfied until he had that experience. Then, experience gained, he would sit back, ponder, evaluate, and make his own determination as to what the facts were. He got the book the very next day and devoured it at one sitting. We then discussed in some detail the theories it contained. This led us into a discussion of the missing tribes mentioned in the Bible. We discussed various scriptures that prophesied the return of these people from the north.
Interesting.
I seen Elvis so intensely involved. Elvis felt that these mysteries of life were part of the spice that made it interesting to mentally explore the endless possibilities that life offers. As a result of this discussion, when an opportunity presented itself in 1975 for us to talk to a man who claimed to have been on a flying saucer, Elvis took many hours of his precious time to listen to the man. It was on the last night of the tour, following his last performance in Denver, Colorado. Inasmuch as he did not have to perform the next day, he met with this man for 4.5 hours. Cautiously, we listened to his story. The man in question claimed that he had been a government researcher involved in the development of nuclear weapons, and had been responsible for other inventions that were used by the United States government. It was that claim that convinced Elvis to listen to the man. According to his story, he had been lecturing and at one point was approached by a man who identified himself as Prince Neeson, who claimed to have been from another galaxy. At first blush, you would think that any reasonable human being would dismiss out of hand any individual making such a claim. Our narrator was startled to have every single one of his thought-out questions answered by Prince Neeson before he could verbalize the question. Not once, not twice, but every time he formulated a question in his mind, it was answered immediately. He mentioned the fact that he was told by Prince Neeson that he was from the planet Wolf with an E, 359 from the Tithanian galaxy, 8.5 light years from Earth. He was skeptical, and while thinking this, was taken outside by Prince Neeson, who asked Mr. Doubting Thomas to look up into the sky. He then had his craft, which had been hovering above, descend to a lower altitude and had it do a few maneuvers to prove it was under his control. It seemed that a small black box he had in his hand was either a remote control or a signaling device that summoned his craft, known to him as Rainbow X. It was an interplanetary scout ship that he and his wife, Princess Nagona, owned. Princess Neeson told him that he and Princess Nagona was here for a specific purpose, a purpose which was never mentioned. He and his wife were capable of traveling to and from their planet 7.5 times the speed of light. A description was given of two huge crafts, Kriganam 1 and 2, that visited the Earth and would leave one day be instrumental in an experiment on Earth that would save many lives. He said their size was beyond our imaginings. Other smaller scout craft were hangared above the mothership. Our narrator claimed he was allowed to go aboard Rainbow X. He could observe there were no seams, windows, or the slightest evidence of any opening. Yet an opening appeared and down came some stairs. The craft was 85 feet high and 100 feet in diameter. There were 3 levels. The lower level housed the atomic power plant that propelled the craft. The second story was the sleeping quarters, and the first level contained the control room. The controls were simple. There were no apparent knobs, buttons, or lights. There was no feel or inertial force when the craft left the ground. None whatsoever during the entire trip. Another noticeable feature was the nature of the superstructure. The craft was made of silicon carbon that hardened with frictional heat. The atomic propulsion worked on the principle of alternating polarity. The metal became transparent in one direction so that one could observe every detail on the outside of the craft. The secret of their motive force was their ability to utilize the principles of the binding forces of the universe, known as electromagnetic force fields. This is the force, according to our narrator, that keeps the neutrons and protons of an atom at a specific distance. This is the same force controlling our solar system. Without it, our planets would collide. With it, they are kept apart, precisioned, and synchronized to avoid destruction. When traveling, the ship extends a force field of electromagnetic force to sweep foreign objects from the path of the craft. The narration continued in great detail. Each time a technical point was mentioned, Elvis would ask for clarification and add it to the notes he was taking.
He's building his own UFO at Graceland. It's so awesome, dude. Love this guy.
Elvis is gonna like come around with a TR-3B, and he's gonna.
Bro, then there's a song called "I Saw Elvis in a UFO" and by Ray Stevens, who I saw in concert in Branson as a kid. But yeah, it's not that far off because even though Elvis technically wasn't in a UFO, he did see them and was close. But anyways, it says Elvis took particular interest in the details of the construction of the ship. A drawing of the craft was given to Elvis. I was also given a copy, see drawing, which I have a picture of. Elvis and I listened intimately. Before you dismiss us as gullible fools, keep in mind, we listened with a healthy skepticism. The story was fantastic. We recognized it as such. But just as stories of the occult and buried treasure hold fascination for some, stories of contact with alien beings held a fascination for Elvis. Whether based on fact or a cleverly contrived hoax, such accounts are a pleasurable escape from the norm. We did not accept the story as a fact, but did believe that the possibility of genuine contact existed. This information is shared with you not to foster a belief in any organization or any cult or any special interest group. For, as I have stated, neither Elvis or I passed judgment on the information we were presented. It was interesting. It was fun to speculate about. But Elvis was a realist, a practical man. He dealt with reality day by day. Here was an opportunity for him to escape by speculating on matters of the unknown. The incident serves to demonstrate a facet of his life unknown to the public at large. Elvis took the original drawings made by this man that detailed the construction of the craft, how it functioned, the principles involved, and studied it in detail for days. He tried to determine in his own mind the feasibility and the rationality of the presentation that had been made to us. He came to the conclusion that the possibility existed, but he did not accept it as fact. He was willing to retain an open mind pending further proof. Red West was with us that night, along with a good friend, Zula Brinkenhoff. To give you an idea of how rational Elvis's approach was to this type of discussion, he had Red West run a check on the man, a background check. There was an indication that this individual had a police record. Still, there were several men with the same name in that town, and it was possible that the police record referred to a different person entirely. All of this was grist for Elvis's mill, and he reserved judgment pending proof. Elvis's mind was systematic. He weighed his findings and mentally indexed them. Feasible things attracted his interest, while irrational thoughts were cast aside. If we disagreed on any subject, he took time to hear me out. Then he would present his argument on any subject, and listen intently to the rebuttal. He was never a know-it-all, nor did he push anyone to prove he was right. If he could not qualify a particular belief, he would tell me so. Whenever he provided evidence to prove a point, he would make his presentation and then ask if I had any material to either counter or provide further light on the subject. This was not done to win the debate, but rather to add to his knowledge if I had new information to offer. Whatever the topic, if it contained a degree of truth, he was anxious to absorb and retain it. And here is a picture of that drawing that Elvis and Ed Parker received.
You got a picture?
Studied. Yeah.
Oh, hold up, let me pull that up.
Ooh, let's see, yeah.
There we go. Awesome.
That is friggin'...
You see, yo, show your Insta real quick while you got that up.
That's very, very
There
interesting.
he is with Elvis.
What do we type in to get to that Insta? What is that? Underscore little Pop Tart?
Yep.
Underscore little Pop Tart on Insta.
But yeah, I mean, I've found already quite a bit of proof. You know, he owned a Chariots of the Gods book, which is, you know, obviously what Ancient Aliens is, you know, based off of or whatever. And he had this, which signed by him, and there's his initials. It's this song called The Flying Saucer, which is a song about an alien invasion, and it even like has bits and pieces from different songs in there. It has some bits and pieces like from Hound Dog, his song. But it's a really trippy song. I've listened to it. But
awesome.
Yeah, you know, like my closer, Elvis UFO theme. So it's actually has, you know, I think that my clothes are cool, but now I actually have like a story that goes along with it. You know, like I'm not the only person who's discovered this, obviously, but Elvis believed in UFOs, and you know, I've also seen UFOs too. And
I have some Elvis stories.
Connected.
I have some UFO Elvis stories. You inspired me. When I saw you talking about this, I'm like, oh, that's such a good road to go down. So I asked the AI chatbot what the deal was. We have the AI chatbot's response on the deal with Elvis and UFOs. And feel free to correct me on anything I say.
Well, bro, listen real quick. The
Yep.
AI can be wrong.
I know. I know. It lies.
Yeah.
It lies.
For sure.
Yeah,
It's a
so
liar,
go
and
ahead.
it knows it.
Just
Yeah.
gotta throw that out there because
Yep,
I
you're
didn't
right.
know that. Really.
You're right. Okay, so it starts out, Elvis Presley, the legendary American singer and actor, did not speak extensively about his beliefs or thoughts on extraterrestrial life during his lifetime. However, there are a few accounts that suggest he may have been interested in the topic. According to a book titled Weird Scenes Inside the Canyon, Laurel Canyon, Covert Ops, and the Dark Heart of the Hippie
Whoa,
Dream
that's
by
cool.
David McGowan, Elvis allegedly had a conversation with his friend and hairstylist Larry Geller, in which he expressed a belief in extraterrestrial life. In the book, Geller claims that Elvis once told him, Larry, don't be cruel, baby. How can we be the only ones? There's a whole universe out there, man. That's what he said. There's a whole universe out there. He said, don't be cruel, Larry.
Yeah, there's gonna be an Elvis.
But my problem is I do more of a Johnny Bravo.
That's what I was about to say. That's still
Mama.
great.
In addition, there are also rumors that Elvis had a sighting of a UFO in 1974. According to an account by Larry King, Elvis had allegedly seen a strange object in the sky while flying on his private jet. However, this account has not been confirmed, and it is unclear whether Elvis ever spoke publicly about the incident. Let's see. What else do I have here? So, in a book titled Elvis, UFOs, and Conspiracy Theories by Richard Thomas, it is claimed that Elvis had a personal interest in UFOs and even kept a library of books on the subject at his home in Graceland. However, this claim is not widely supported. Well, I don't care if it's... Come on, just give me the good stuff. It talks about his meeting with Nixon and how there might have been a UFO agenda to that. There have been rumors over the years that Elvis faked his own death and is now living in hiding, possibly on another planet. So we go there. That's what I got.
Was Nixon the one that banned the friggin' aliens from the White House?
No, he had Valiant Thor from Venus as a
Okay,
personal
okay,
advisor
yeah,
living in the
Valiant Thor. I
Pentagon.
thought- But didn't Valiant Thor first visit Truman? I thought.
Probably.
He visited-
The thing
yeah,
is,
he
this guy was allegedly like practically immortal from our standpoint.
I mean, wasn't he a Palladian? So like.
He was
yeah, I
from
mean,
Venus.
'cause they said
Here's
he
the
was like.
book.
Yeah.
If I can dream, mama. Elvis' own
That's
story.
that's the guy.
Ah.
He's his spiritual.
Yeah,
It's
Geller,
true.
Yeah. Interesting.
That's so interesting. No, and here's the thing. When I looked that up, that stupid AI crap up, I'm like, I'm making a stupid short. And I was just going to quote the thing, I was just going to put the text in it, but I changed it all, and I changed it from hairdresser to personal shaman, which was actually more accurate, it turns out.
Yeah, he was his spiritual advisor.
I said he had alien bodies under his home in Graceland. I said he was flying the jet and he had to do a barrel roll to get away from the UFO. I added a little spice to it. I want this to be legendary. You know, we got to add to mythology a little bit.
Yeah. So
Elvis was actually the Doom Marine.
he definitely had at least 2 or 3 that I know for sure sightings. One of which being the night he was born. You know, the sighting his father had the night he was born. But the rumor is that even after his death, that there's been UFO sightings at Graceland from the fans. That's allegedly, you know, this is all rumor.
You got ghost sightings and all that too, so it's not like isolated to that.
In the meditation garden where he's buried, allegedly up to 20 feet above his tombstone, above his grave, there's been UFOs seen there. And you know, every time that I find one of these passages in these books of these credible people who really were around Elvis all the time, and people that I know of and trust to be credible people regarding Elvis, especially, you know, this was written in the 60s and 70s and stuff. It's like, you know, we don't have this technology now, allegedly. What were they? And there's even an Elvis movie from 1950s, whatever, called Loving You, his second movie, where they pull up in this white car, this old white car, and this guy standing next to Elvis says, "Wow, the flying saucers have landed at last." And I got that on my Instagram too, you know, which, you know, I've already had my own confirmation that UFOs were real, so I already kind of could have guessed that Elvis and other celebrities had sightings too, even if they weren't open about it. Elvis was really controlled, so he obviously couldn't talk about UFOs if he couldn't even talk about the war or war protests or anything.
That's the
He
thing.
was very controlled by Colonel. So.
The times were very strange. It was definitely a hot topic at points during his life. And the thing is, if beings like that were to come, like, who would they be most interested in? I think it would be someone who has had an emotional and spiritual effect on people. And, like, we have very few of those in the West, honestly. But, like, Elvis really did touch a lot of people.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
And, coincidentally, shit, I forgot what I was about to say. But yeah, he is spiritual. All of his Grammys were for gospel.
I love Elvis. I really do.
Yeah, he was great.
Yeah. So,
He was yeah.
let's go from that. Let's get into C5 then. I think we've talked about C5 on the show before. I think we were talking about it 2 weeks ago, something like that. I've given the basic rundown, but I want to hear it from you. You're the expert here. What is it?
Well,
like I'm a baby.
So, basically, it's just contact. It's like I compare a lot to hunting. How hunters go outside, they go out there and they're in touch with nature. But instead of killing a creature less intelligent than you, you're making contact with beings more intelligent than you, and they're choosing not to kill us or be hostile towards us. So, it's a very unique and new experience for even myself.
It is a personal UFO encounter.
Yes, every time.
I've seen 3.
What do you have to do?
You just have to telepathically send them a message, a peaceful message, asking them to visit you. And if you can give them any sort of brief description of your location, that helps them pull up.
Pull up. They just pull up.
And I use words like pull up as slang words like pull up, and I got video, they actually do understand slang.
I would imagine the language itself means very little.
Yeah.
Yeah, I said words pull up, pull out, if you guys, and then I got a video of a green orb, a green UFO.
That is awesome.
Most of the time, they'll be in the shape of an orb, of a ball of light, because if you see them in their physical craft, it's obvious. It's obvious it's alien craft. It's obvious it's a saucer, even if it's the most simple silver disc. Like my son, he was 3 at the time, made appear above the house in broad daylight. It was a silver seamless disc, but it's 100% obvious it is not man-made. That was not human. It was at least not Earth humans as we know today. You know what I'm saying? Anything that we are driving. But it was a vehicle parked at my house, hovering 10 feet above my roof. And it was just like how I have a vehicle, except that vehicle was run on free energy, wasn't filling up at Casey's next door, and it wasn't plugged into the fucking grid and relied on, relied on fucking Elon Musk and the electric fucking. And coincidentally, that's what I was going to say. Coincidentally, RCA, which Elvis was signed to, RCA Records, is owned and was owned by General Electric, which, General
Defense
Electric
contractor,
fucking
yeah.
runs the world. So that's just a coincidence, I guess. But Elvis didn't believe in coincidences.
I wonder if
I
it has
don't
anything
either.
to
No,
do with the TR3B development.
Well, that's the
I
thing.
have no idea.
The thing about the TR3B is that it does run. It creates an anti-gravity force field. This is real shit that the government has. You can find the patent. You can find the videos. They don't have it on paper. Absolutely fucking have this goddamn thing. And it's what half the UFO sightings you see on Twitter are. But the question is that you have Elvis saying, or you have this whole conversation going on with Elvis involved, where supposedly the craft is creating an anti-gravity bubble, essentially. So they don't feel liftoff, they don't feel themselves moving, and basically gravity is shifting around them. And it's the same thing, kind of, that they're seeing now with TR3B. Now, you could there's some of this stuff I think you could almost, like, if someone was guessing, if, like, a really smart person who's been, you got a lot of books like that predict the future, just because it was kind of obvious if you sat there and thought about it objectively. But, like, the conclusion I think you would come to with this space flight, whatever, is that you would have to get rid of the gravitational force. That's like an obvious one. You would have to make it so that you don't feel the liftoff, because you're about to fly light years at a time or whatever, allegedly. So you can't feel that, or you would die.
Yeah, like
Right?
the
Yeah, there's no
G-force
inertia.
might just tear you apart and be like,
So that is an assumption, but at the same time, it's very coincidental that, you know, that's what they've been saying the whole time, is that the government got the anti-gravity stuff from the aliens, the visitors, whatever they allegedly are. People have a lot of things that they call them demons half the time. I don't really know.
No, I think that you know, they're ETs, and a lot of them are human-like, and that they're a lot like us, and then they're a lot different. But the basis of ETs are very real. Of, you know, that they do have the typical. They're small. A lot of them are small, and, you know, from what the pictures of what Dr. Greer's taken, I believe those to be true. But the only other craft that I've seen that was a physical craft besides the, you know, the two saucers, was the black triangle. That I don't know exactly what you guys are talking about with the craft or
yeah, mine
whatever.
was a white.
It
trapezoid.
is definitely a human-made craft that is anti-gravitational and has cloaking abilities.
Yeah. So what I saw was during CE5, and it was when I first started. And when I first started, I asked for the maximum that I could get. I said, I want to see your best technology. I want to be mind blown. Whatever's the maximum that I can have, the maximum contact that I can get, I want the max. I want everything I can get. I want the max. I told him. And so the first week or two, I was seeing like 20 to 30 damn orbs a night, usually like 2 or 3 at a time, like interacting with each other, sometimes more at a time. I got quite a few videos, but the only other physical craft, I saw a black triangle. And I saw this about 2 or 3 damn different times before I saw it up close within a matter of 2 nights. I saw it once or twice the night before, and then the next night I asked it to come land in my yard, and I was shining my green laser at my yard, like, here, land here. But it didn't. But anyways, it went right over my head instead, and looked like it was going to land, but it just went right over my head, probably 20, 30 feet, and allowed me to see the technology of this craft, the entire undercarriage of it, the entire bottom of it. And it was so fucking cool, bro, because I've never seen any technology like this, and it looked like some like supercomputer that I've never seen. But it reminded me of a computer because it had like honeycomb shaped lights. It was red lights that were like honeycomb shaped, and it looked like the lights were breathing. So it would like start at the bottom left of this triangle, and it would like breathe all and like trickle up to the top a little bit, and would cover like 75% of, you know, what I could tell was the triangle craft. And then at the beneath that red lights that were trickling, doing that breathing, was one white bluish sliver of light that would start at the bottom right, and then would like shoot up to the left and then stop. Super fucking weird. But besides that, the only other craft I saw was in between a physical craft and in between an orb, and that was a couple weeks ago when I had my phone in the chair and said, hey, my phone's in the chair, so I can't record, but I have a blue house, white car, and you can probably see me from my pink hair. And I looked up in broad daylight, pretty much the same spot that the silver disc was another disc that was completely see-through, flying sideways, like kind of like belly up, but it was like literally sideways and like flying upwards, and it had a circle in the middle of it, like a complete perfect circle.
Was
like a whole
it
circle in the middle.
was this one of the triangles?
No, this is
Okay.
This was a couple weeks ago. The triangle was 2 years ago when I, first started. This is I've only seen 3 actual discs. The rest have been orbs. So I saw the triangle. I saw the silver disc that shapeshifted to an orb that my kid contacted, which was the biggest. And then a couple weeks ago, I saw this other disc that was halfway in between physical and halfway in between an orb, but it had a circle in the middle, and I could see completely through this whole craft. It was completely translucent, transparent, and it was amazing in broad daylight. And then finally, it just disappeared right in front of my eyes, broad daylight. But I could see the complete shape and everything of this craft, and I could see the complete circle thing in the middle, whatever the hell it was, and it's flying sideways, unlike the other disc I saw, which is, just hovering, sitting there normal, sitting there upwards, right.
Okay, so
Like
the CE5 method of contact, it usually incorporates meditation, right? You say that's not totally necessary?
Yeah, so I was doing the meditation. I was doing the C5 exactly by the book. Exactly like Dr. Greer said, 30 minutes to even sometimes an hour of meditation the first 7 months of me trying to contact with no results, no luck at all. It wasn't until 7 months later, after the documentary came out, of me trying it every day, practicing failing, and thinking that this whole thing was a scam, thinking that UFOs in general just might not even be real, me doubting all of it. And then finally, some dude on Instagram helped me out and said, bro, just stop overthinking it. Just go out there and say fuck it and just try it. And so I did. I skipped the meditation, just gave the ETs my address. I built a little bonfire, and it worked. And I got my first contact on video. My, baby's mom recorded it. And that was the start of it. It was, like I said, it opened up the floodgates after that. It was just like, bam, anytime that you pretty much want to. And as long as you put in the effort, and half the time I don't have success if I do try, but that's because I know that I'm not the most spiritual person, and I know that I'm just now learning how to do this, and I'm still trying, and I'm still a still learning experience for me too. I don't claim to have all the answers, but I do know for a fact that it's real, and I am definitely going to tell everybody about it. So
I was considering that the better I could visualize, like, the way from space to my house, like, the better contact would be facilitated. So I'm sitting here, I'm like using like Google Earth, and I'm like zooming in.
Yep.
So it's just so I can visualize it when I have to, just in one thought, to zoom to know what it all looks like.
Yeah, and if you can look at your phone or iPad while you're showing Google Earth, zoom into your address. I've at times given the ETs my exact coordinates, bro, and it works. The only thing that I do use the CE5 app for, the Dr. Greer's app, which is $10 if you want to buy it, it just helps. It's not required, but it does help, and that's what I always tell people. It apparently has like fucking 6 or 7 more other tones that you can use. The one I use the most is called crop circle tones, and you play these crop circle tones, and it apparently helps establish your location to help the ETs find you easier. And it was these tones that were recorded in a crop circle. They also have, and it works really good, they also have tones that were recorded inside of like the Pharaoh's chamber.
Oh, that's awesome. I bet
opera singers.
You find one of these like YouTube videos, 432 hertz meditation and healing videos. I bet one of those would be perfect. I don't know which one.
Bro, and that's the thing is like, all that stuff helps. The meditation and those tones help. The app helps, but it's not required. The only thing that's required is you and your brain. And, mostly if you go outside, that's better contact for them. And the more that you do contact, the more you build a relationship with them. So they're not just going to, first time you make contact, knock on your door and say, hi, it's me, fucking Paul or whatever. You have to build a relationship with them, and they'll show. The more you do, the more they'll show you. And there's several people, many people have had fucking CE3 experiences where they've seen ET beings.
Well, let's explain that real quick. So CE5 stands for Close Encounters of the Fifth Kind. It's also the name of Stephen Greer's documentary that explains all this stuff too, right? So first kind is sighting a craft. Am I wrong? Is that what it is?
Correct.
Second kind is... I'm drawing a blank here.
Physical traces of a landing. Landing with sometimes physical traces,
Okay, so evidence it implies. Then third
evidence
is...
of a landing. That's the landing thing.
Third is then meeting the beings, right?
The occupants of the craft, yes, the pilots.
Fourth is abduction.
Is boarding a craft.
Abductions.
The C5 community we don't believe in abductions, but it's I guess getting on board a craft. It would be number 4, and then number 5 is human initiated contact.
But even more than that, I don't know if this is applied to that, but it is almost recognition of oneness, correct? with these beings? That's almost required. Because otherwise, how are you contacting them?
Yeah, that is. Apparently, we are all like one consciousness, or we're all connected. Our consciousness is all connected. If we're not all one consciousness, then all of our consciousnesses are connected, and that's how we do it. And it makes sense that the aliens would be telepathic. That if they're smarter than us at all, they wouldn't have cell phones, and that they would have telepathy. So it makes sense that that's how you would contact them. And it turns out it's true. It works. I tested the theory. Dr. Greer's right, and I've been saying that for a while. So it's like the people like Chris Mellon and Lou Elizondo, they have to know for a 100% fact themselves that Dr. Greer is right and that CE5 is real and that what he's talking about actually is true, and that they are just playing along with the whole cover-up. They have to know that CE5 is real, but they choose to deny it and choose not to talk about it. If they don't, deny it, they choose to not talk about it.
This is why I like Lil Pop Tart over all the UFO people. This is the first person I've talked to. You're the first person I've talked to in a long time who doesn't immediately defer to like fear and the government, which is what I think so much of this is made for. It's meant to just blow your mind so hard. You're like, oh, only the government's doing this, and you got some amorphous thing that can never really be pinned on them. But that's the only thing. You can be afraid of the aliens, you can be afraid of demons, you can be afraid of the government, but the only thing you're not supposed to be is empowered. And this takes the power out of the hands of all of these assholes. And if it's real, it's yours. If it's not real, it's still yours. It's yours to find out.
And that's why I tell my bros, don't trust me, don't take my word, don't take Dr. Greer's word. Go outside and try it, see for yourself. That's all you have to do. You won't really believe it. I didn't believe it myself until I saw it with my own eyes. And then even after seeing it with my own eyes, I still didn't know what the fuck I saw. And I was like, what the fuck? Was I hallucinating? I had to see it again and again and again to really believe it. And then it's just now 2 years later that I've kind of absorbed it and had time to digest it and be like, okay, now I understand what happened and how these craft work and what these pilots were, who they were, and et cetera, and understand what happened to me, because it was super unique. And the fact that my son was 3 years old at the time when he made the silver disc appear above our house.
Tell the story. Tell the full story of that.
Okay, so this was his second contact. The first contact was a few nights before this, and it was at nighttime, and it was just a solid white orb, which I got on video, but I was really happy that it was an orb. And I said that to them. I was like, I'm glad you guys came as an orb, because it was really subtle, and that was good for my kid. I appreciated it. I thought, if it was a physical craft, at the time it might have overwhelmed him, even though I didn't understand how that worked. So a few days later, I was watching Dr. Greer's videos, and he was explaining how the UFOs can shapeshift and fold into space-time, and they go from being a physical 3D craft to an orb, and they go back and forth, orb to physical craft to physical to orb, back and forth, flip-flop. And I was thinking, that just sounds so science fiction outlandish, using the words space-time and stuff and folding into space-time. I was like, that's just shape-shifting. That cannot be true, is what I thought, Dr. Greer. So the next day, I'm sitting on my couch again and watching UFO videos on my iPad or whatever, and my kid said to me again, he said, Dad, I want to see aliens. And I said, all right, well, just do what you did last time and close your eyes and ask him to come over. And he did it. He closed his eyes and went, I said, okay, now ask him to come over. I said, tell him we're doing CE5. He said, we're doing CE5. I said, now tell him we're meditating. He said, we're meditating. I said, all right, let's go. He opened his eyes and said, let's go. We ran out our back door here. And this was in broad daylight. I think it was like 2:40. And I look up, turn around to face the back of my house, and a perfect, seamless silver disc, probably 20 feet long, but, however long it was a silver disc that I have never seen before or since, and it was the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. And anyways, it was hovering there about 10 feet above my roof, and no windows, no doors, no seams, nothing. And as I looked, it started to hover over to the right just a little bit, and after it hovered to the right a little bit, the sun started to hit it, and as the sun hit it, it reflected a little bit, and it was like super shiny. So when that happened, I was like, oh shit. I pulled up my iPad as soon as I could, which I had in my hands, to record it. After, only like couple seconds of looking at it, I was super fast, like a fucking gunslinger, pulling out a gun super fast in the Western. I pull out my iPad real quick to shoot a fucking video of it. And as soon as I lifted up the iPad, bro, I swear, as soon as I lifted it up, this fucking physical craft, which is like 20 feet long, shape-shifted in the blink of an eye to a little bitty white orb that was less than like 1/20th of its original size, is what I say. It's so fucking small. It's like the size of a tennis ball. And it literally shape-shifted into a different, complete object. And that's what I got on
wonder if
video.
they have like compression technology.
They have some technology that detects cameras, and they definitely have cloaking technology. So what I figured it was doing, it was showing me all of its, or not all of it, but it was showing me several of its craft's functions. So, and on video, when I was recording, I could see another craft right next to the orb on my iPad. I could see a craft on the iPad next to the orb, but I couldn't see it with my eyes. I'm like, is that a reflection off my iPad, or is that another UFO? Now I believe it was the UFO, and it was showing me another feature, which they can bilocate and trilocate and be in multiple places at the same time. And also, it showed me that it can void detection from our eyes that can sometimes be detectable on phones or cameras. But anyways, I could see the orb still with my eyeballs, the orb that was originally the saucer. I could still see that with my eyeballs and still see it with the video, and I got it on video for what I thought was only 4 seconds until it disappeared on camera. And so I got this video, and it disappears on camera. And then I'm like, okay, what the hell, where'd it go? And I start recording a damn airplane that's off to the side because I lost the UFO. I didn't know where it went, and I couldn't find it. So I got like 2 minutes of that video. That after it happened, I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna cut the first 4 seconds because that's all that you can see the UFO, the orb, is the first 4 seconds. So I just cut it and said, I have 4 seconds to prove that my kid's the youngest human to contact UFOs. But anyways, that's awesome. Not over. So after that 2 minutes or whatever, we're still outside, and Cyrus, my kid, says to me, "Daddy, aliens." And I said, "Really, where?" And he says, "Right there," and pointed, and he pointed out that same exact orb was in the middle of a flock of birds, a triangle of birds in the middle of it, flying perfectly symmetrical with the birds, and the orb and the birds came down and swooped down right above our heads and flew off. And we thought that was that. I didn't get that part on camera, but it was so fucking amazing to see, wow, something else can fly with birds and be perfectly in sync with them. I could never imagine, flying with birds or anything else flying with birds besides maybe another bird. So that was super amazing.
Yeah. And
a personal experience that I'll remember till the minute I die. But so that's not all that I thought that was all the proof of the pudding. I thought that was all the proof in the pudding that I had. But at least I had some proof. I was like, okay, I have this amazing story, which with not proof of the saucer, but I have proof that I did see a UFO and that the fact it disappears on camera, the orb disappears on camera.
Where can people see this?
On my Instagram. The fact that it disappears on camera proved it was non-human. So I thought that's good enough, whatever. And left alone, whatever, for 2 years, even though I did tell Kanye that my kid was the youngest. And Kanye's seen like 10 pictures of my kid on, just via my stories. But anyways, so.
Does he have any alien stories?
No, not Kanye. I'm the first person officially to brief Kanye West, yay, on UFOs.
that is so goddamn awesome.
I was almost sure he would. I was almost sure he would, though. That's why I was disappointed.
A lot of people say that, but so check it out. So I thought that was all the proof that I had that my kid's the youngest human to contact aliens in modern history. But a few weeks ago, I was looking through that same iPad at my old UFO videos, and I found a 45-second video that I had never seen, and I was like, what the hell is this video? And it was from that same exact time, that same day, 5 minutes later after my original sighting, my original video. And it's a 45-second video of that same exact orb flying off like around my damn neighborhood around in my yard. I'm like, what the fuck? I don't even remember this happening, let alone getting it on video right after. You know, I don't remember it at all, bro, is what's amazing. At all. Don't remember it happening, nor I remember the video. But I have it, and it happened. I have the video. I have my kid talking in the background, everything.
I gotta acknowledge chat at some point. I've been neglecting these fools. Sped Kaczynski in the chat. Yeah. What up, Midwest Vikinger, Jamie, Novus Ordo. Who am I missing? Planet Zero is in there.
Stars in there. He asked why didn't we shoot at the UFOs?
Yeah. Novus Ordo says, I don't know. I guess this is a reference to just CE5 in general. Of course it works. I use dude dash. It says dude dash. I don't know if that's a typo, but that could be a thing at this point. Dude dash daily. You miss and it's war. I don't know what the hell he means by that, but it sounds threatening. Dude dash. Yeah.
Is that like they bring you Alien Burger King? I wonder how Alien Burger King is.
Not very good.
That'll be better than ours.
So here's the thing: we were talking about the technology, the all of the, we got cloaking, we got shape shifting, we got anti-gravity, we got all of this stuff. I think all of this is contingent on the powers that be being very aware of like a quantum reality, knowing that quantum physics points to the fact that matter comes from consciousness and not the other way around. We have to be able, you know, if we can contact these things through time and space, then obviously there is a connection there. I think that connection exists with all things. And I don't know, the shapeshifting is very weird. Does it imply that there are beings on these crafts while it's shapeshifting? Is it going out of dimensions?
I'm wondering if it's like a cloaking thing.
Well, there is that too. That definitely is a thing.
We can reduce the blueprint of what you're seeing down to this like ball of light that's like yay big.
I wonder.
Yeah.
I don't know what the light years thing is. How far away is like another galaxy in light years? I have no damn idea. But I feel like conventional travel doesn't even work at that point.
Yeah, because you have to have something that would negate the G-force on like a human body, because otherwise you would get like that kind of pressure of going that kind of velocity. Because like you're thinking about it, like somebody already in like a space shuttle or whatever, it's like a fucking elephant sitting on them or whatever when it breaks through the atmosphere. So if it's going like, because you know, space shuttle, like I wish I could Google how fast they're going, and it's going so fast, but light years like 20 times that, or even, you know, whatever number times that. Yeah.
One light year is about 6 trillion miles.
6 trillion. So, it doesn't help me at all. It turns out I don't know what the hell I'm talking about at this point. But I think there is an implication that there is like folding of space-time going on.
Maybe they're found.
Am I correct about that?
Folding it. They're like folding it.
Yes, that's how they do it.
Yeah, so it's not just blasting off through light years at a time. It's not doing that. It is something else entirely.
Warping reality.
But I think that's what I'm getting to with the quantum reality thing. It's like that the people in the highest levels of power, like they know there is like this immaterial web that is all of us that is actually making up existence. It's not material. Reality is not material.
I think a lot of these experimental devices, these fucking stuff that they experiment on like atoms with, like the super colliders and shit, I think it all ties into alien technology, because I don't think we fully understand what, I mean, we're actually doing with some of this stuff. Like if you look at how like when humans discovered radioactive substances like radium, look at all like the fucked up shit that happened because people weren't careful with new technology. Like, you know, it's the same thing though. If we're like messing with alien technology we don't fully understand, something bad could like happen.
Well,
yeah,
so
Cash Landrum incident's a perfect case of that, where these elderly women were burned badly from.
Yeah, they touched the fucking gray triangle. Yeah.
Yeah, the government had put a nuclear reactor inside of an ARV, alien, you know, reproduction vehicle, which was a mistake. You know, it doesn't take nuclear energy, and it as a result, it burned these citizens, and they tried suing the government, but
it melted their fucking like dashboard. Yeah, I remember.
It gave them a deadly disease and burns and stuff too, and you know that's. A lot of the, you know, big headlines that Nick Pope's talking about, UFOs causing unwanted pregnancies and burns and stuff, is from these man-made UFOs. The only threat is from man-made UFOs and the secrecy involved around UFOs, the entire subject, the secrecy involved around it. But the man-made UFOs and the the programs that control them are the real issue. But real quick, could I finish with what I was saying with my kid?
Yeah.
So it's almost over. So the last thing that happened, I went back after I found that 45-second clip, which was amazing. I went back and said, you know what? Let me rewatch the full 2 minutes of the original video that I had clipped to 4 seconds, and let me watch the whole 2 minutes and see if there's anything that I missed in that video. And I did what they did on the UFO fucking TV show or whatever, where they slow down really slow and go frame by frame to look for the UFO. And I saw where I was recording the airplane where I lost the UFO, and I'm recording a damn airplane in the sky. And at exactly 1 minute and 14 seconds, if you pause it that time, you can see to the left of the airplane that same exact orb in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 different spots in less than 1 second. So it's not even flying there, it's teleporting to all these different spots in less than 1 second.
Yeah, so
And
it's
that
got to
was-
be folding. Yeah.
And that was all the, that was my kid's second contact.
Youngest
First one I
contactee.
saw.
That's a beautiful
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
That was my dad was. I'm sorry. You can go ahead.
Oh no, I go ahead. I was just saying, Dr. Greer himself was only 9 years old when he made his first contact. So my son has him beat by 6 years. But
Nice.
what'd you say about your father? Sorry.
He was outside smoking a cigarette on the porch, and I was like out there talking and like bullshitting with him or whatever, and like we happened to look up in the air, and there was these 5 dots, and they were almost hexagonal kind of shaped, and they were kind of hovering. I would say probably like, I don't know, like a mile up in the air, and they kind of stayed there, and they were completely silent, and all of a sudden they appeared, like in a second, they appeared in another part of the sky. And they kind of just hovered there for a second, and then like they were gone. And that was the
Sweet.
first one. And then the second one I saw, that I think was the man-made one I saw on the highway. I actually have a picture of that one.
My I got my UFO experience that I have a totally different perspective on suddenly after all of this conversation that we've been having lately. Before I get to that, I want to say I am making sweet shirts. We tie-dyeing shirts out here. We out here tie-dyeing shirts. We'll print anything you want. Anything. I'll print like anything you want on that motherfucker. Get the Skinwalker gang shirts. Get that fucking, the fresh tee, man. I got the press behind me, dude. We're doing shirts. If you want one, hit me up. I'll make anything. I'll make anything. Any idea you got, I'll make it. Yakavalive at protonmail.com. Please get at me. I need some money. I'm making fresh tie-dyes with prints on them, dude. Right from my sweatshop in my house. So, last UFO experience I had, I did 2 hits of Juggalo acid. And everyone knows Juggalo acid is the strongest acid. So I didn't trust my senses. I didn't trust them. But I'll tell you this, when I have hallucinations on LSD, I don't see like physical things in front of me. I don't see that. When I close my eyes, I see temples building, cathedrals being erected and torn down, and insanity happen. I see all sorts of stuff, but it isn't like things occurring, in my
You get
real
like
world.
the thing like where you close your eyes and like a movie starts playing almost.
Yeah. I mean, ketamine does that. Disassociatives do that, where I start like
because
lucid dreaming,
I
essentially.
I had Valium when they did surgery on my teeth, and it did that. It was like watching a fucking
Dude over
movie.
here
It was great.
doing. That's weird. Okay. Anyway, so I took 2 hits of this Juggalo acid. I go outside to take a breather because I'm tripping balls. I look up. The night sky is full of objects. Full of objects flying around above me. There is not an inch of the sky that is not full of flying objects with weird lights on them. So, whatever. It could be the acid. It could be. But I'm standing there. I'm staring at them. And I'm like locked into them. And I can feel like my concentration getting stronger and stronger. And this is definitely an acid thing. Like I sit there and like meditate like that. And I feel this. But I'm sitting there, I'm staring at the UFOs that I'm looking at. I got this connection with them. It's getting more and more powerful. It's more and more powerful. And I hear it on the other side of the door. My cat is meowing. Meow, meow. Come back in. I'm like, if I stay out of here any longer, I am going to get swept up by these UFOs. I will never be seen again, for better or worse. And at that moment, I decided to go back inside, sit on the fucking couch, and listen to music. Shit's getting a little too wild.
David Pilates is going to monetize your missing.
Now, later on in that trip, I was looking out my window into my yard, and I was seeing like weird, like giant iguana reptile creatures walking around. And once again,
like death claws.
No, they were on all fours. They were chilling, dude. They had like cool frills and like crests and shit. I don't know, but my point is, when I'm on acid, I don't usually like see things like that, like I did on this Juggalo acid, baby. And that was my UFO experience. It reminds me of all of this because of the meditative aspect of it. I was linked in, baby.
I wonder if it was like a fucking research analog or something.
I don't think so. I think this is what LSD actually does when you get good LSD. Yeah, dude.
Because I know there was like a shitload of research analogs for like LSD for a long time.
Hell yeah, I took them all. They didn't feel like this. Yep.
Because I remember one was like particularly bad because it was getting sold as like the real deal, and it was like fucking
25 IN bomb. I did tons of it.
Yeah.
I talked to the moon on it.
Way stronger. Yeah.
Well, it wasn't way stronger, so you take a milligram of it. If you take a milligram of LSD, you're out for a few days. Yeah. So, how do you feel about that, Pop-Tart? What if we did some acid and we meditated and tried to get the UFOs?
So, yeah, that's actually not a bad idea. I haven't yet tried myself to do CE5 on a psychedelic. I haven't done a psychedelic in many years, but I would like to test that theory, and I believe it. I believe it could definitely work. I mean, I obviously smoke weed, and I always smoke weed when I'm doing it, but that just is that's not gonna really affect it one way or another. Obviously, with psychedelics, that is like a self-induced spiritual altering substance that it takes you into this spiritual worlds that sometimes we can't even access, or at least that I have never been able to access any of these spiritual worlds through meditation. I'm not the most spiritual person, and that's
I go there very easily. I go there super easy. I take psychedelics, even like a normal amount of psychedelics, and suddenly I am having messages beamed into my brain from Mother Earth herself.
That's dope, bro.
To the point where I am not functional anymore. I can't talk. People are looking, what's wrong? What's wrong? I just can't talk right now. Please go away. I'm sitting here. Yeah, I'm busy right now.
CE5 is all about peace and love and positivity and spiritual evolution, and not just evolving technologically like we've evolved technologically so far, and but we've pretty much reached our limit to where we could annihilate ourselves any day. We can't evolve any farther technologically until we evolve spiritually, and we might wipe ourselves out if we don't before then. But we have to evolve spiritually, and that's what the ETs have been trying to help us doing, and that's why their whole reason why they're here doing the contact work is, it's not just so they can put on a show for us like their deals at SeaWorld, it's so that they can actually help with our planet, help with our species, help us evolve, help keep us alive and survive, and stop fucking up with our with our lives.
Have you ever read Bringers of the Dawn?
No.
You should check it out sometime. The audiobook is on YouTube. It's about a woman, Barbara Marciniak, I want to say, something like that, something weird. She would channel the Pleiadians. And what you're saying is exactly the message that they essentially had, is that it is all about spiritual growth. The control structure that is holding us down is a spiritual one. It is like black magic. And it has all like the nuclear themes, how we have to get rid of nuclear weapons. That's like a big part of it, as it always is.
Right.
And Palladians? Yeah,
it's Palladians.
I think that the whole idea of it, of spirituality, and what the ETs are saying, that why we need spirituality is because it's something that is within ourselves. So until the people that's in charge have their own, spiritual evolution, so to speak, and then things might not change. But say that if they did, the leaders of the world, really did have spiritual evolution and changed that way, then we could get this technology out. But right now, there's not many options to get this technology out because of all the greed and because of this truth embargo, the cover-up that's been suppressing any anti-gravity free energy that's been created or discovered since, for 100 plus years. And that's why Dr. Greer's new movie is called The Lost Century. It's about the last 100 years of lost and suppressed technologies.
How do you feel about reptilians?
Not true, not real.
Okay.
Okay.
Just making sure. That's fine.
I can respect that take. So the Drano stories would be fake then.
It's the best story. That will always be canon to me. That the reptilians get drunk off Drano will always be canon to me. I have to maintain that one.
I'm not going to say that there's not any strange exotic ETs. I'm sure there are that could resemble reptiles, but the common theme of reptilians and the government and it's not like that at all, and I don't believe that to be true or accurate whatsoever. But there's a very famous story, I believe. I forget. I think it's at Nellis or either Nellis Air Force Base or maybe Edwards Air Force Base. But there was a UFO landing at one of these Air Force bases that was caught on camera, and they were going to be showing it in a government-funded documentary, but ended up getting pulled at the last minute, and only 4 or 5 seconds of this footage ended up getting onto the documentary, showing this alleged UFO landing. I think at Holloman Air Force Base is where it was, and allegedly this craft landed, and these beings got out, and they were super, really tall, 9 feet tall, wearing some sort of Egyptian type robes, and had
white robes usually.
A lot of the times the traditional ETs they'll be wearing tight fitting black bodysuits, like scuba suits.
They're jumpsuits. Yeah.
Sometimes white, but usually black tight fitting suits, and sometimes they even have helmets that are connected to their. According to Daniel Sheehan, the Roswell crash were also recovered helmets, not just craft. We recovered helmets that were connected to the craft and to their consciousness. Consciousness, helmet, craft, all connected. All their technologies are all connected to consciousness.
Yeah.
I mean, I assume if they're wearing jumpsuits and everything, they're working they're on a crew. They're like a crew of a ship. So yeah. Yeah,
they have jobs a lot, and there are some that are obviously here just for observation or whatever. It's not just one size fits all for the subject, and I definitely believe Dr. Greer to be the most honest and most credible with the subject, 100%. He knows a hell of a lot more than me, and I feel like I've learned a lot just from listening to him. I've learned way more than him than I've learned from listening to him, than I've learned at school, than I've learned at church, than I've learned from any other ufologist. I've learned more from Dr. Greer, so I'm going, call me a dick rider, but I'm going to give him his fucking credit, give him his flowers, give him his respect, because he really does deserve it if anybody does.
Yeah, I don't know if that sounds funny to anyone out in the audience. Here's the thing, I think you have a little bit of a convert zeal going on. I don't think that's a bad thing at all. But you said you first got into this 2020?
Correct.
So you're still very excited about this. You haven't been totally jaded. I mean, they're all fucking paid off shill liars. That usually comes 15 years in.
I'm unbiased as far as ufology goes. I started off listening to Lou Elizondo and the main talking heads, Jeremy Corbell and fucking Chris Mellon and all these
Jeremy
that have no idea. Oh, maybe it's from China. We have our government. Jeremy Corbell, bro, said literally he made the Bob Lazar movie, and then that talked about the United States government reverse engineering alien craft, and then he got a hold of all this footage suddenly definitely didn't get picked up by the fucking feds, and was on CNN and Fox News saying, we have no idea what these craft are. We can totally eliminate black projects, he said on national television. He said that we can absolutely eliminate all black projects when he literally made the movie about Balthazar.
Yeah.
And now he came back.
There's a reason they're called black projects. Like, you don't.
Back and said, no. I've actually been told from my inside fucking sources that it's confirmed our government does have craft, and that Balthazar really did work there, and that that our government does have recovered craft. I'm like, no shit, dude. You're the one that told us. You're the one that made the Balthazar movie. I didn't know about it till you fucking told me. So why are you going back on TV saying, oh, we don't know what they are?
These are the elite shills. They only say what is on the itinerary to say, and I guarantee you there are like secret society connections. Look for the Masonic connections. I promise you they're there.
Yeah. The only way to get funding is to push a threat, and the only way for this cover-up to keep going on is to spin it in a different direction. So instead of keeping it a secret completely, they're letting the secret be known. Hey, ETs exist, but they've been spinning it for decades, this entire time, in the direction of that they are a potential threat, and that's what they're still pushing.
That's very interesting, because when we watched the recent UAP conference, what is it, Unidentified Aerial Phenomenon conference, it was on Senate.gov, live streamed. So it was some pretty official stuff. And I thought it was very interesting the way they went about it. It was all very intentional. You had one person who was there, Gillibrand, who was kind of playing like the people's champion, I guess, for lack of a better term, who's like saying, if there's something real, the people must know. We need to know about it. Then you also had another lady there whose name escapes me, who all she could talk about was China and Russia. China, Russia, China, Russia. And that's very annoying. But the thing about that is that is their excuse to fund it. If we can be like, well, maybe this is foreign intelligence, this is because you have to spin it as a military threat in some fashion or another, and you don't want to do it in the most outlandish way possible on Senate.gov. So you say China, Russia, China, Russia. So yeah, you had that. You had the person who was like, we have to tell the people. You had the Warhawk, and then you had like Science Guy. And between the three of them, it was a very intentional way of going about trying to get funding for this thing. Which I'm not even sure what the thing is, to be honest. Just research of UFOs.
Yeah, but the thing is, bro, it's not a thing that needs funded anymore. We don't need to fucking spend another dollar to solve this mystery. It's not a mystery. If I myself, Lil Pop-Tart of Missouri, figured this out, specifically first from the government telling me, hey, these things exist, and then I had to go about doing my own research to find the truth, but it wasn't hard. They know what the truth is too. They're just still, pushing it and obfuscating it in any direction. Just it's another rebrand, pretty much, of Project Blue Book.
Yeah. So
that's what they all are. Arrow, ATIP.
What is Blue Book exactly? I know people they basically talk about it as like UFO chasing.
Project Blue Book was, I believe, in the 1940s and 50s. Headed by Dr. J. Allen Hynek. It was officially the government's first UFO research team, which allegedly before that, though, there was one that was secretly called Project Grudge. I guess, we've been studying it for a long time, and I'm guessing the government's been studying it since they were established,
You gotta listen to or read even better. There's audiobooks, but there is the book Behold a Pale Horse by William Cooper. His the chapter in it, The Secret Government. It goes through all of the stuff. It goes through Majestic 12, Majesty 12, with a name that's very secretive. That it seems like everyone's got a different name for it. All talking about the same thing.
Lou Elizondo is the biggest fraud. He did not run ATIP, and Stephen Greenstreet has exposed him already multiple times for all of that. So yeah, it's a very and you know what about Jesus? allegedly there was UFOs present at the crucifixion at the death of Jesus Christ.
This
right?
is all
Hey, you hear
the
about
stuff
the
you're talking about right now.
Palladium,
I
like
feel
we
like this
talked
stuff
about, yeah.
essentially broke in Behold a Pale Horse. That was the first,
Really?
the oldest source I can find of them talking about aliens showing the crucifixion to like government officials and religious officials. Is the story
Oh, that's
that
cool.
there was a meeting where they basically had a video of the crucifixion that they showed,
Wow.
and they claimed to
Is
be
it the
behind it.
Palladians
That's
that
interesting.
Say they love Christ.
Now but that's what I'm saying is like all of this stuff. This is the stuff that's like the Majesty stuff, the Grudge stuff, the Blue Book stuff.
Yeah.
All of that stuff is like it's all from that era where allegedly the aliens were dealing with the government. Supposedly, they said that the story is they were working with the Greys. I think is what's alleged here, and there was an agreement that the Greys would give the U.S. government technology if we allowed them to abduct people for research and for the things they needed. But there was like a specific thing where you're not supposed to be hurting these people. Eventually it was found out that they were just abducting and dissecting people for whatever they wanted, all willy-nilly like. And around the time that happened, supposedly another alien race contacted the government and were like, those guys are dickheads. You need to disarm all of your nuclear capabilities and we will stop them and we will like evolve you spiritually. And the government
the
declined
Palladians,
that.
yeah.
The government declined that and they kept working with the Greys, which is where we are now, allegedly.
I don't believe that to be true. That is the big, theory that obviously goes good along with the government's whole threat narrative. Fits along nicely with that, which is why they have had fake abductions projects going on in South America in the 80s for the psychological warfare value.
Yeah,
of
there was
this.
a dude. I was going to talk about that. The body on the reservoir. There was a guy that was like fucking supposedly abducted. Then like all his organs were missing and shit.
And you hear about so many abductions. That's all. It's alien movies are about is abductions and invasions. And it's been implanted into our brains that that's what's going to happen. But in reality, we are the threats. We're the ones with nuclear weapons and UFOs. So humans are the threat. ETs are the peaceful ones. And they're the ones trying to help us. We're the ones destroying ourselves. And coincidentally, bro, Elvis Presley died reading the book, The Scientific Search for Jesus' Faith, which was given to him by Larry Geller, the book, which was about the holy shroud that allegedly covered Jesus' face after he died. Someone kept this towel or the shroud as a piece of evidence of Jesus' existence or whatever. They kept it and it exists somewhere. But that's what the book was about finding this shroud.
This is very
I died reading
interesting.
it.
I've had this theory lately. Now, I think we're in a transitionary period here. I think in a lot of ways, the world we were living in did end. You can call it when, around 9/11, you can say it's 2012, whatever it is. We're living in a whole new world here, I think, it's just unprecedented and it's moving so fast. Like no generation is like even accustomed to what we're dealing with now. The amount of stimuli we're being bombarded with, the rate technology is increasing to the point where we can't even keep up with it. We have no idea what we even have. So one day it comes out on the fucking internet and it changes everything. But the thing is, I think there's this transition that's happening that happened in Jesus' time. I think his life is a microcosm of a shift in consciousness. What you have in those days is, in the centuries leading up to like AD, the first century, apocalypticism was the big thing. The Jews who were around where Jesus would have been in Judah, they were very into apocalypticism. They were talking about a Messiah. They were talking about a kingdom that would free them, that they would be the ones conquering and take over the whole world with their king. And that's what like all of the literature was about. But at that same time, they were being ruled over by the Greeks, which kind of fueled that whole thing. That's why they were the Jewish people were so obsessed with the messiahs, because they wanted to get out from foreign rulership. So while they were occupied by Greece, these ideas of the apocalypticism of the Jews was mixing with like Plato and the philosophers of Greece. Now, then you have Jesus come, and he is the fulfillment of this Messiah. But he's everything that you wouldn't expect. He's a spiritual king. His kingdom is a spiritual one. It's literally inside of you. So it takes this whole apocalyptic thing, it adds kind of these Greek philosophical elements, and the next thing you know, you wind up with what they call Gnosticism within a couple centuries, all based on that, where it is all about going inward. It is about knowing God within yourself, and when you do that, you realize you are Jesus' twin. There's no difference between the two of you. You just had to realize it. Almost Eastern ideas. But I think the same thing is happening right now, where we're going from, like, the end of the world into, like, a spiritual thing. And that doesn't mean it's going to get better. I think we're going to look at the world outside us and be like, this is a horror show, and it's all fake, all designed to ruin my brain. The only place you can go for reality at that point is within. That's what's going to spur all this crap in. All this AI shit, when nothing you see within a year, everything you see is going to be fucking AI. And you're going to be looking at it, and you're going to be like, this is all fake, and it's all designed to fuck with me, essentially.
Yeah, they're already, like, using it to make, like, banger-ass mods for video games.
And this is when people are going to go inward. And it's the same transition that's happening now, I think, that occurred then. This is a new age, and it wouldn't surprise me if whatever beings, I don't know, whatever celestial beings were there for that, were there for this.
It's like now you can just take a voice actor, get like a few lines of dialogue from them, and then like fucking AI over anything, and you can have them say pretty much anything. Like,
I can just see the rate that the production of like images, people are just crapping out AI images, and they're awesome images, but they're just crapping them out. How long do you think it takes an artist to make something like that? A long fucking time. There's not going to be anything real left, and the worst part is that the algorithms are going to all prefer AI content.
So, bro, what kind of AI do you think the aliens have integrated with their consciousness?
I kind of assume that they might find AI abhorrent. And once you understand that the universe is all one, all of that crap goes out the window. You access the Akashic records.
Maybe. I think they definitely don't have money or possibly even Bibles.
I think the thing is, yeah, at some level, after enough meditation, like, the nature of reality becomes pretty clear. The Ten Commandments become pretty clear. The Sermon on the Mount becomes pretty clear without even needing to read it. So to some level, I can get that if they are supposed to be so evolved spiritually. I do think they would that's what I think. You would get away from money, but the thing is, people think communism immediately when you start saying that. But it's total abundance. Realization of that, automation of all labor, essentially, is what I would assume. No need for AI. I don't think that requires AI just to automate labor. I don't know. Maybe it does. Maybe I don't know that much, but that's what I'd assume.
Well, I think that the best evidence that ETs have had interaction with not specifically the governments of Earth, but just the humans of Earth, is obviously the pyramids. There's no way around that was made by or helped created by extraterrestrials.
oh, for sure, because like
That's obvious.
I was watching a thing on one of the statues they had dug up in the Valley of the Kings in Egypt, and they did a X-ray of the statue. They like looked at it like right down the middle, and they found out that this statue is perfectly 3D symmetrical, like on both sides. And that is way beyond the level of like any handcraft artisan's ability. They said like it had to be, the only way it could be made was it had to be 3D printed, essentially.
That's what they say a lot about. A lot of people describe the disc, like the silver disc I saw. I think Bob Lazar described the inside of it, like the seats look like the whole craft is 3D printed. It's like made from like the ground up, like everything's one piece.
Monolithic.
The seats and everything.
Monolithic, yeah.
That is very, very cool. And that is exactly the term Buzz Aldrin used when he said that there is a monolith on one of Mars' moons, Phobos. There is a monolith, is the word he used.
Yeah, he said people was going to say, who put that there?
Yeah.
And you know that allegedly the iPhones, the first, which are powered by like a million transistors or a billion transistors as of 2013. I think it's like 11 billion transistors in an iPhone by 2013. But allegedly, the first transistor came an hour south of where I live in 1941 or 1942. There was an alleged UFO crash here in Cape Girardeau, Missouri, and that's where we apparently got the first transistor from. And if you, the rumor is, in the UFO community, whatever, and it was shown on American Horror Story, I think like season 10 or something, where it's the alien season of American Horror Story, and they show like President Eisenhower meeting with the aliens. And anyways, it shows this scene where Eisenhower is meeting with the alien, played by Cody Fern, and the alien brings him a box, which is in exchange for, like the abductions or whatever, only at national parks. But the technology that he gave them was an iPhone. So he gives Dwight Eisenhower an iPhone in this like black and white scene, and it's an iPhone with like all this alien hieroglyphs on it. When he touches it, like it starts showing all these alien hieroglyphs, and they're like, "What the hell?" And he says it has the computing process power of blah blah blah. And anyways, it's just a cool scene. But allegedly, that is the rumor that whenever the aliens, whoever they were, if they did meet with President Eisenhower, and if
this sounds so much like the story of them showing the crucifixion. It sounds just like the story.
Yeah.
Allegedly, the real aliens showed President Eisenhower. They gave him the technology of the first Macintosh, or they brought him and showed him footage of something that was on a Macintosh, a Mac computer. That's the rumor, but obviously, we'll never be able to get that proof, any proof like that. The government wants they when there's big secrets like that, they want to keep something a secret. They do it, and when they want to put something known to the public, they do it too. But for a reason, there was a reason that they told people like me that UFOs were real in 2020, and allowed us to study it and find out. And it's not just because they finally had a change of heart and they want to finally have disclosure. That's not true at all. And even James Fox, going on Joe Rogan, came out and said that for the people that think that all of a sudden the government just had a change of heart and that they're just going to start just disclosing stuff, that's not true.
Disclosure will never happen like people imagine. No, it's a slow trickle. It's a slow trickle, and it's only to deflect the blame from themselves.
Yeah, we have to do it ourselves. And with Contact, bro, you don't have to have me. You don't have to have Dr. Greer. You don't have to have Bob Lazar and his fucking Element 115. You don't have to have fucking Jeremy Corbell, sure as fuck.
That's
nobody. You go out there by yourself and you make contact directly with the ETs, and that's it. You don't need nothing else. And you can do it now. You can do it anytime.
The most insulting part is when you go decades being like, well, there's obviously something weird going on here, and the government clearly knows it, and you're seeing videos and stuff. And then one day, like, you wake up and the government's just like, of course they're real, dummy. It's like, fuck you.
Like sheep for not even questioning it before I was like, damn, it's really taking the government to tell me that UFOs are real for me to even question.
And there's no vindication. There's no vindication.
They feel like a sheep.
They just go, yeah, of course they're real. Everybody knew they're real. You're the only person who thinks this is a big deal. It's like, fuck, man.
Yeah. And, looking back, I watch all these interviews that have been on the news and been out forever, but talking about UFOs and stuff. But there's just it's so saturated. There's so much media and so much content that we don't get to see everything that's on the news or everything that's been released throughout history. There's too much. And, even if something's on the news, it's like in one ear, out the next for, for our people.
Here's your thing for the next 3 days. Get ready for the next thing for 3 days, and it's just an endless stream of like bullshit that never matters. And like I said with AI, we're at the point where like you always have an out. You can always look at something and be like, it's just AI generated. So there's no vindication.
Remember the one where like Trump was getting arrested, but like the cops had 6 fingers and like
Hell yeah.
it took him a while to see that. Yeah.
Good shit.
Even at the best case, bro, if Joe Biden came out today and said UFOs are real, blah blah blah, said everything the fucking UFO Twitter wants them to say, it would be viral for a few days, and then it'd just be another subject fucking on Reddit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's all.
Yeah.
And we would get that confirmation or whatever if that was possible, but it wouldn't change the Earth. It wouldn't change humans' situation with going to fill up our towers with gas the next day. Everything would still be the same.
Well, you gotta wonder, like,
chop wood, carry water.
If UFOs are real, what else?
Yeah, and they have been lying to us about that. So it's like, why would we trust them now about the same exact subject that they just admitted that they were lying about?
Well,
why the fuck would we trust anything they say from this point on?
The most important implication of all of this, and this is why I like talking to you rather than other people, is that the point is that we are all one, and they are here to tell you that. And if they're here, that's what they're here to say, apparently. And you are the blades of grass, you are the stars in the sky, you're every crumb of dirt, and it's all one. It's all one, baby. That's the most important thing.
Well, hey guys, I'm gonna have to get off here.
All right, that's fine.
Yeah.
Good having you. Do you want to show anything?
great.
Tell people where they can get access to your stuff and videos.
Oh yeah, just hit me up, follow me guys on Instagram, _little-pop-tart. And I'm Little Pop-Tart. I'm just _little-pop-tart on Twitter. But yep. Hopefully, I'll be back on here more. I really like Discord. It's cool.
Yeah, we got lots to talk about, honestly. We got a lot in common, and we still have to talk about, like, merch and fucking design and shit like that, because I can talk about that for hours. So, yeah, I'll catch you soon, brother.
I can talk about this subject specifically for hours, and I enjoy doing it. So that's why I made my YouTube channel. But it gets kind of boring talking to yourself sometimes, you know what I mean? Because, like, okay, obviously I know what I saw. I
don't want to open a can of worms now, but maybe this will be the hook for the next time. I think you were, like, affiliated with some podcast, and there was a falling out.
Yeah.
Those guys look like dorks. I'll say that right now. They all look like dorks.
Yeah, the problem was I do love UFOs, and talking about it, it was just a matter of creative control. He wanted... mostly he wanted to tell me that I couldn't talk about Kanye West. I never even talked about him.
That's the most interesting shit.
I was a big fan of his. Kanye was following me on Instagram at the time, and my goal was that I wanted to be the first person to brief Kanye on UFOs and CE5. And even though that was my goal, I still wasn't making it a point to talk about it really on the show unless it got brought up or whatever.
Kanye seems like a guy that would talk to you about cryptids for like an hour.
So what happened was I ended up saying, whenever Kanye went on talking about Hitler, I already knew that he was gonna, be fucking pissed about it and go off on me and say, whatever, blame me for it, like I'm responsible for what Kanye says.
This is all retarded. Yeah, dude. Come on now. Kanye's a troubled artist, brother.
Because his girlfriend, apparently his girlfriend's family is Jewish, and his girlfriend's family watches the show, so I can't talk about Kanye.
Oh, come on!
I'm not going to be told what I can talk about.
No, I've never seen anything quite as stupid as Kanye talking about Hitler, I'll be quite honest, but none of it offends me. It's all just good entertainment from where I'm standing. I think he's a well-intentioned guy.
So what I did was, I put on the same mask that Kanye was wearing, because I have all the easy masks. So I put on the same one that he was wearing the day before, put that on and made a video saying I was told by the host of Total Disclosure that I could not talk about Kanye West anymore, so I quit. And it got 8,000-9,000 views.
Hell yeah.
And including Kanye.
Hell yeah.
And Kanye reached out to me the next night and said, "What ideas do you have?"
Oh, that's so fucking cool.
That exact night, which I believe it was the 50th anniversary of Elvis Presley's 68 comeback special. The 50th anniversary of it.
Awesome.
Obviously, I feel like that was the spirit of Elvis. That was Elvis helping me out. And that night too, I hadn't had contact in over a year. It had been last December, and this is what you guys gotta look up too. It's called a power up. And I was with my girlfriend's grandparents, and I saw an orb coming up, and this was December of 2021, my last contact I had for a year. And I saw orbs. I saw my green laser. I said, "Look, Grandpa, see it?" I sent it right at the damn orb, and as soon as it hits the orb, this orb expands like 5 times its size, and it just looks like it's about to explode. It gets huge and powers up, and then shrinks back down to normal a few seconds later. And we're like, what the fuck? That made them believers. A few weeks later, watching another one of Dr. Drew's documentaries, and I see footage of the exact same thing that I saw. And he says, oh yeah, we have thousands of hours of this. And it says it's a common phenomenon during CE5 if you shine a green laser at it. And apparently it's called a power-up, or some people in the CE5 community call them flash bulbs. But the night that Kanye messaged me, he's asked me what ideas I have. I immediately said, I gave him my number. I was like, this is too much to type. Like, I can't type all this. So I gave him my number. I wanted to talk to him. And I said, I can help you win the election, bro, 100%. And I got a screenshot on my Instagram. And anyways, he opened it and read it, but he didn't call me. So I went outside and I tried to do C5. I had my first contact in a year, and I saw an orange, it looked like a shooting star, shoot down diagonally toward the ground, real fast and long, like left a streak. I was like, okay, if that's you guys, could you come back and let me take a video for Kanye West? And so anyways, about 30 seconds later, I look up, and that same orb started right above my head, and it was orange, and started above my head, left a streak like 3 football fields long, and shot across the whole damn sky right above my head, straight ahead, and, then stopped, and it disappeared, a few seconds later, and I was too cold to even lift up my phone to try to record it, but it's super cool, and I was too cold to stay outside and try to get another sighting so I could catch it on video, but I wanted to, so I could be like, look, Kanye. But anyways, 24 hours later, he still didn't call, and I'm like, well, shit, maybe he did really just want me to type it out. So I typed it out and told him, about UFOs, and told him I recommend he watches Close Encounters of the Fifth Kind. UFOs are real, but they're both man-made and ET. I said, Dr. Pierce, who I strongly recommend you appoint as your VP. I said, my son's the youngest human ever contact UFOs, and the last thing I said to him was, free energy is the solution. And a week later, he was on Clubhouse talking about free energy and kids, Nikola Tesla, and kids making energy from tires.
Nikola Tesla, I'd love to do like a whole episode on him. He's got a lot of interesting.
Yeah, but hey, I'll catch you guys next time.
Man.
Much love, y'all. Peace.
God bless,
Yeah,
brother.
yeah.
That was cool.
That was great. That was like some of the most entertaining content we've had.
Hell yeah. So what you thinking, Chad? I've been neglecting you beautiful people out there. Content was moving fast. I didn't want to be cutting them off constantly. Dashing, drop douching. That'd be happening out here, dude.
There was I hadn't checked on the last thing I said. Let me see.
What about that guy that was on Joe Rogan recently talking about UFO alien cover-up case that happened in Brazil in 1996? I feel like
James Fox.
I think I briefly heard about that, but I don't know
I
anything
remember
about.
like the body on the reservoir. There was a fucking old man that was like this is supposedly one of the most violent alien abductions. Like there was an old man that was like a drunk that was like fishing on this lake in Brazil, and he like fucking went missing for a day. The next day they like found his body on the side of the lake, and like he had been like weirdly mummified. They said almost like in a formaldehyde almost way. And his fucking organs were missing, and like he had like these little like incisions that were like tiny, like 1/4 inch, where like his organs had been pulled out through there. And like the theory was it could be birds that did that.
Birds?
But why was he formaldehyde?
Well, they're making zombie birds now, so it kind of makes sense.
Well, he was missing his like fucking jaw too, and like his tongue was gone. Yeah, it was like weird.
So
But the dude, and like they said, he died of like a heart attack out of extreme stress. That's all it said.
Valiant Thor was an android made by aliens, is Scar's assertion from the documentary that he's talking about. That's very interesting. I've never heard that take before. What's the story of aliens showing the crucifixion? There's not that much to it. So apparently the Eisenhower administration was in contact with the Greys allegedly. I think this has to be the Greys. Yeah, the Greys allegedly. Now they had been in contact, had meetings, but at some point they told Eisenhower to like gather up all of a bunch of religious officials on Earth, and to have them all come and hang out there and witness some shit. At which point the aliens came and they busted out some device that sounded a lot like the iPad situation we were talking about. They break out a device and they show the crucifixion of Christ, and they say they were behind it, that they sent him.
Do you think it could be like they fucking time traveled and like got like the Passion of the Christ or some shit and showed it to like Eisenhower in the 50s to like lie to him?
I think it takes. I think all of reality is one, and if you could just meditate hard enough, you could watch the crucifixion happen right now. Like I truly do believe that. I think you can access all of the information of the world.
My problem with that story is I just don't trust the Greys. I think
nobody does. That's the story. Is that nobody? That's the story of the Greys. Is that they're dealing with them, but nobody trusts them.
I trust the ones that look like us way more. Like, call me an alien.
And that's the thing. I think a being could show the crucifixion allegedly, but like the fact that they're claiming responsibility with no proof. That's the part that's screwed.
Yeah, that's what I'm getting at. Like they're like showing it. Like you have to take their word for it. Like.
Yeah. So apparently it shattered the worlds of some of the officials that were there. Some of the people, I don't know. There's stories of crying.
Some of the atheists. Yeah.
Yeah. So what else we got? Scar says, I know all the stuff this guy was talking about, but I don't know. I have my reservations a lot. A lot of people call Stephen Greer a grifter. That's fair. I'm not sold on Greer either. I think Greer took a lot of information from Bill Cooper and then started extrapolating on it is kind of the vibe I'm getting here. And I would swear Bill Cooper talked about Stephen Greer at some point. I could be wrong about that. I might be mixing that up with like William Greer and other people who talk about aliens that he would talk about. I don't know. The William Greer thing was totally unrelated to Stephen Greer, but the name comes up in my head a lot. But I'll have to look into that more.
There's two like same surnames.
I do feel like a lot of the UFO community that we see today essentially took Bill Cooper's story and just went nuts with it. And you could say they stole it or whatever. I'm not really one for saying how can you steal a possibly fake document saying the government dealt with Greys? It's not stealing, like whatever. But
the Phil Schneider stuff.
Yeah.
What do you think about that?
That's weird shit. It's weird shit. I believe he saw something.
He had evidence he was missing like half his fucking hand.
Yeah, something happened, most definitely.
Yeah, something had to have happened. Yeah.
What were the beings is the question. Were they extraterrestrial,
I think they were Greys. I think like he jumped them and like fucking spooked them.
I hear you, but there's nothing to say that these things were from outer space. There's literally no reason to think that whatsoever.
No, they could be interdimensional. They could be from fucking deep in the earth. They could be under the oceans. It's like we have only explored what is it, like 13% of the oceans, 14%?
I don't know.
Like that.
Yeah, I don't know what to make of the Phil Schneider story, except that I do believe something happened.
Yeah. Like, what if there's beings that can handle like the immense pressure or whatever of the ocean floor, and they fucking never come up, and they're so deep down that we don't know about them? Like.
So Scar says, no, it's the vagina UFO incident in 1996. This all sounds very fake to me. Let me Google it. I don't believe anything that's happening right now. Here, the Vargina incident. Residents claim seeing one or more strange creatures and at least one unidentified flying object. So the creatures.
The Grafton City monster.
According to media reports, a creature was sighted on the afternoon of January 20th, 1996. This would be a good time. While I'm doing all this bullshit reading, this would be a good time to say that you guys can donate to me. There's a link up there. There's links down there. Cash at me, bro. At GatherFund. According to media reports, a creature was sighted on the afternoon of January 20th, 1996 by 3 women ranging from 14 to 22 years old. The women described the creature as a large-headed biped with spots like veins on the skin and some bumps on the head. Eyes were 2 red balls. The creature, later termed the E.T. Day Vargina, seemed to be wobbly or unsteady, and the girls assumed it was injured or sick. The women said that they fled and told their mother that they had seen the devil. Biped, spots and veins, 2 red eyes.
It almost reminds me of the Flatwoods monster.
It brings to mind a lot of different things. Mothman's coming to mind immediately.
Yeah, the Flatwoods monster, because remember it had like this disc head and it had like the red glowing eyes.
So rumors afterward began to spread through the area, with some people claiming to have observed UFOs in the days prior. Later, claims were made of additional unidentified creatures / extraterrestrial beings, extraterrestrials being collected and observed at a hospital. Government trucks and personnel being active in the area, and an unidentified animal prowling a local forest. The death of a police officer and unexplained animal deaths occurring in the local zoo. Ufologists would later allege links between these and other claims, including the claim that one of the initial creature witnesses was impregnated by the creature.
What?
Did it dick her down, or was this some kind of like weird telepathic shit? Holy hell.
Come here, baby.
This is extremely reminiscent of like Chupacabra. Jesus
yeah, it is. Like I was
Christ.
saying, the creature running around fucking killing zoo animals and shit. Yeah. Drinking their blood. It didn't say drinking their blood, but...
The Brazilian authorities also reported that the aliens allegedly seen in a hospital were actually an expectant couple who had dwarfism.
What?
They're just some little people, doll.
It's Brazil. What do we expect?
Christ.
You ever hear about the fucking cesium incident in Brazil where there was fucking like these dudes, they were like scrappers. They like made a living scrapping old junk or whatever. And they found this like rundown cancer treatment place. And they were like, bingo, there's probably a lot of cool old medical machines in here we can scrap for money. So they go and they accidentally find like the cancer radiation treatment machine. And they're like, oh, this looks expensive. So they like wheel it out of there and they take it home. And they bust it open and they find a vial of like cesium. And they don't know what it is. They just assume, oh, well, you know, this is pretty blue glowing dust. Let's open it up.
Dust.
Well, basically, long story short, they fucking Chernobyled their almost entire city by spreading it everywhere. And like the Brazil government had to come and like dump concrete on the chair that they were waiting on at the hospital because they were like so radioactive. It's like insane. Yeah, but like stories like that come out of Brazil. It's just that place is like insane. It's like Florida if it was a country. That's the best way I'd describe it. It's Florida if it was a country.
So Scar says a UFO, and this is his recap. I'm interested if this is different from my Wikipedia recap. A UFO crashed in a small town in Brazil, and basically, long story short, the U.S. military rushed there and recovered the alien bodies, and there was a live one that killed a police officer. And there was more than 20 plus witnesses that were told to keep quiet about the whole thing to this day. The android Valiant Thor, I was that. Hey, if someone had to go, this is okay. The android Valiant Thor I was talking about was when Lil Pop Tart was talking about the American Horror Story episode. That shit was.
So that was an American Horror Story.
Okay, now I get it. I get it.
Yeah, I got it.
I understand now. Thing is, there was more aliens. He was the only one alive, apparently. There were 4 dead, and one of the Brazilian officers that came in contact with the alien body died weeks later due to radiation. So there's like 9 midgets running around. 4 of them got like stomped to death. One of them killed a cop. And one of them was so fucking irradiated with midget poison that someone got killed by him later on.
I don't know.
Bunch of little people just wandered out of bed. We got fucking... I don't even know, dude. How many of these midgets can we stuff in a UFO? Probably a lot. You think that was all, dude? They're coming. There's more coming. Where that came from, bro. Where that comes from.
Brazil has a shitload of weird stuff happen in it. Like I said, the body on the reservoir thing, and then there's like the Viet like it's, let me look it up. The lead masks, the fucking Viet Hill lead masks, I think.
The Vagina Hill lead masks. What the fuck?
No, let me see. Let me look it up. Ventum Hill. Lead masks of Ventum Hill. Supposedly, these fucking Brazilian scientists were in contact with UFOs, right? And they entered some kind of deal where they were going to transfer their consciousness to, like, the UFO ship. So they went out to Ventum Hill in, like, Brazil and, like, fucking were wearing these strange, like, ancient-looking lead masks. And they, like, fucking killed themselves, right? And, like, supposedly their spirits transferred up to the fucking ship or whatever. Or that's what they wrote, anyways. And, yeah, like, it's like kids found them because they smelled them or whatever. But that's how long they were there. But, yeah, it's fucking weird. The lead mask.
Oh, I forgot that one of the midgets impregnated a lady.
Oh, yeah, that happened.
I mean, that was the most important part of the story. And that midget became Albert Einstein.
Just all kinds of strange stuff in Brazil. Like, I'd love to, like, I wonder if, like, other places in, like, South and Latin America have, like, fucking weird cryptids. I know there's also a Brazilian fucking like scary cryptid called, I think it's Corpo Seco, the dried corpse. He's like a fucking desiccated corpse of an old slave owner that like goes around and like kills people on the road at night, and like he's supposedly been seen.
I once heard a spooky story of the Baycock. I remember it because it had cock in the title, but it's a Native American legend where there
Come
was
on down to San Antonio, you can see the donkey.
a spooky, emaciated, skeletal hunter. He has not found food. He is out hunting for food, and he has not found it. He is skeletal, and the only way you know he's there is from the crackling and the clanking of his bones jingling and jangling together. And when he finds you, you will be the first game he has found in a long, long time.
Is there like really any skeleton ghosts? Like, has anyone ever seen a skeleton ghost? I wonder.
I mean, I would think that ties more into like I'm saying, like the skeletal boy might be more. What I was just saying might be more akin to like a Wendigo, but like I'd imagine like when you're talking about like Draugr and shit, there's probably some skeleton boys.
Well, if you imagine like a Wendigo or whatever, I imagine like if they're so emaciated because of the lack of nutrition that their bones probably do like rattle together. I would think.
I would hope so. I want to believe.
It's like people that like say they've seen Wendigos or whatever. Like the best story I've ever heard was this dude lived in Maine, and he like let his fucking dog out. His dog came right back in, and like he heard his wife was out of town or whatever on a business trip or something, and he heard his wife in the woods saying, "Honey, come out here." So he fucking was like, "What the fuck? Is she home?" So he like throws on his shoes or whatever and goes out there with a flashlight, and he shines out in the woods. And he hears it again, and he looks and looks and looks, and like finally sees this figure, and it's like hunched over, and it stands up when he hits it with the light, and it's like 8 foot tall or whatever, and it's gaunt, emaciated, has like the no eyes, and it looks at him and says, "Hey, honey," in his wife's voice or whatever, and like he fucking just gets back in the house and closes the door. That's the whole story. But he says he didn't know what it was. He thought it might have been an alien until he like read on the Wendigo lore and shit.
That's what it was.
But yeah, I mean, it's fucking weird, dude. Like I've had an experience with, I don't know if it was a Bigfoot or if it was a fucking Wendigo thing, but whatever it was, it didn't smell good and it roared. Like that's the two things I can say. Whatever it was, wild hogs were scared of it because they ran away from it.
Scar says, do a whole episode about Brazilian paranormal UFO stories. Maybe. That sounds like a deep dive. I don't know. Maybe.
There's a lot there. There's a lot there, actually. There's a lot there. I'm not like even... I'd love to like talk, we talk about the lore of like Latin America because there's all kinds of like weird ghost encounters and shit. It's a very spiritual part of the world. They have a lot of like, I don't know, it seems like a lot of...
Well, you find that anywhere you find like a mix of indigenous religion and like Catholicism, that's always been very prevalent.
It's very spiritual.
Scar asked, did it smell like sulfur? Did the creature smell like sulfur, Pollock?
Yes, it smelled, well, if I had to describe it, okay, if you've worked a job being a shitty cashier somewhere and you handle a bunch of change all day and you like smell your hands.
Like blood or like copper?
Copper,
like
almost. Coppery, zinky, metallic, and it was real odorous. Like, like if somebody comes in a room and they like fucking brap and it's like really bad and it's suffocating you.
Hell yeah.
It was like that. It was like whatever produced the smell. It was so noxious. I was like not wanting to breathe it. And I was like, and then it screamed, and the way I can describe the scream, okay, if you like played Call of Duty, the first World at War, the first Zombies, the way the audio kind of was on the first Zombies when they were late levels where you'd kind of get that robotic sounding roar, that's how I describe this thing. It was robotic. It had this, it didn't sound like an animal. It sounded like something coming through a speaker, almost. But it was so loud, it shook the fucking tree I was in. And I was like, because at that point I wasn't scared, but when it did that, I was like, holy shit, what is that? And I kind of got my gun up. And at that point, I just felt pure terror. And then the smell hit me. And I was like sitting there thinking, holy shit, I'm like about to be in a fucking 4chan X threads. Like, holy shit, it's actually happening. And by the time, like, this felt like 5 minutes, but it could have been like 3. But it finally just, the smell eased up, and like finally the feeling went away. And I like fucking called my dad, and I was like, I had something weird happen. Can you come get me? And he was like, he made fun of me about it because he didn't believe me. He still doesn't believe me. But it was fucking something because you know how they say like in India when they're being stalked by a tiger, they can like feel the tiger's fucking presence or whatever,
Good.
and like you have some kind of like I think it's like the Holy Spirit essentially telling you you're in danger. But I had that thing going on where I had this feeling of okay, I'm being like there's another predator here besides me, like hunting, and I need to be careful. Like that's the vibe I got. Essentially, and it could have been a Sasquatch because that matches. They smell bad, supposedly.
Do stank. Scar says, "Don't ever Google Argentinian duendes. We'll do the South American little people thing. I promised that before on this fucking stream, and we ain't got to it. I'll do it. Don't tempt me. I'll Google it. I'll Google that shit right now. With that, I think we will get the hell out of here. Fresh out of content now. I think you got your fill. Go out there, meditate, contact UFOs. Elvis is there waiting for you. It's all very simple. It's all in your power. Whoop, whoop. And God bless everyone. I love you guys.